My name is Emily. Welcome to my channel, Emily Solves It, where I share my love of all things puzzle related, whether it's logic puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, riddles, brain teasers, puzzle games of all shapes and sizes, you name it, I probably love it. Today is December 23rd, which means it is the penultimate day of my Clue Advent calendar. Let's get started. It is time for the penultimate event. Penultimate peril, well, penultimate door, penultimate day. This is exciting. Okay, before we go any further though, let's double check our guide to see what we're supposed to do for day 23, since apparently it's different than the rest of the days. Okay, how to play day 23. Read the day 23 story on page 47 of the storybook. Open that day's door. Review the clue cards. Look at all the clue cards in the envelope and refer back to the storybook as needed to piece together who killed Black, where, and with what. Make your final guess for who, where, and what. The where is the door you'll open tomorrow and must be one of the remaining unopened rooms on the Tudor Mansion map. Okay. Okay. We'll do that in a second. Today is just us piecing it all together, figuring it all out. Exciting. Okay. Okay. I'm way too excited for this. Everyone stares at the hard drive until the blare of sirens jolts them out of their reverie. Pointing to the window, White explains, "The mansion's alarm system notifies the police if the power goes out. They'll arrive in a few minutes." In his most persuasive politician's tone, Green says, "As horrible as Body's death is, we can all agree that it saved us from the unflattering secrets he threatened to reveal. Given that, it is in all our interests to get our story straight." Mustard shakes his head. "I refuse to lie when I'm an innocent man. We must solve this ourselves and be ready to hand the killer over to the police when they arrive. We all have a motive the police will find suspicious, and I have no wish to be hauled in for questioning." "And with your statement, Green," says Peacock, "you've become the prime suspect." "I was just pointing out the obvious," Green protests. The question kicks off a flurry of accusations. Yelling, finger-pointing, and arguments ensue as each person both accuses others and defends themselves. However, it becomes clear that each person is committed to their alibi, and no one will confess to the crime. Only a correct accusation of the true murderer will spare the other 5. You've reached the end of the story. There are no more puzzles to solve and no hints on the back of this page. Open the dining room door and remove the 6 clue cards from inside. Okay, so they should have all been in the dining room. Dang. Add these to the envelope holding the clue cards you have already found. Why would I add them when the next step literally says to review them. Review all the clue cards as well as any days in the storybook you would like to read again. Then write your guess below for who killed Body Black, where, and with what. Who, where, what. Mark the room on the Tudor Mansion map corresponding to your where guess, but do not open it until tomorrow. See page 5 for more information on how, in the game guide, for how to complete day 23. Okay. So yes, what a bummer, because all of my clue statement cards then should have been behind this door, and they weren't. Because I've got statements. There should be, how many? 6? Yeah, I've only got, oh, okay. Wrong room. Okay, cool. We'll come back to that. So then anything where I put, so I should have 6 of these, 6 rooms total. 1, 2. And like I noted on a previous day, my underneath calendar does not match up. So I also don't necessarily want to look too hard because I know that they're rotated and there's kind of a giveaway in one of these, and I don't, just making sure, because how many is this? 1, 2, oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nope, 1, gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh no, am I missing? I don't want to open the calendar again. Not when I'm this close. Whose statement am I missing? Peacock, Colonel, Mayor, Plum. I don't have one for Scarlet or White. I think I'm supposed to have everyone's statement cards. Shit. Okay, I think I have to open it up because I don't have the statement cards. Hang on. Kind of pisses me off because I know things. I have to lodge a complaint that my problem, a lot of my issue has stemmed from the fact that from day one, because of jostling and things like that, my cards ended up all over the place inside this calendar. Everything on this side was fine because it's all self-contained and it's a single room. This, it does lift up. There is a gap. And unless you press the cards, there are little notches, and unless you press them down in there, they will come out. Ever since I opened it and I thought I rearranged things, it's been fine. They haven't moved around, and I've lifted this and moved this around. But whoever originally assembled it did not press those cards in, which means they all got moved around. So then day one, when I didn't even have my cards where they were supposed to be, I had to open it and I guessed. I put things in places that I thought made the most sense, which turned out they weren't. And I wish that these, like all the other clue cards, have what day they were supposed to be in. That would have saved me a lot of time. It does not say anywhere on these cards that this belongs in day 23. It should have, because all of the other clue cards have the day number on the bottom, and that would have helped. This was in the wrong room. It has a 23. It was not in 23. It was in a completely different room. Okay. I'm frustrated because whoever manufactured it did a poor job, which has set me up for failure. And in this particular case has now ruined part of the ending because I had to open it, dig around, and I do now know behind which door I'm supposed to find a certain, like, the answer. And that is really frustrating because it takes away that element of, like, I get to solve it because I've been spoiled. I ruined it myself, yes, because how else? I wasn't going to be able to solve it anyways. I also don't like that my box, the underside does not match. I will open these because you can tell I'm not looking at what's supposed to be underneath these doors. That is the hall. This inside is the hall, not the dining room. That is the study. This is the rug that goes underneath the study, which means my board needs to be rotated, what, 90 degrees? My underside is like printed wrong, which also acts as a spoiler because every time I've opened these doors and I pull out, I'm looking at things. And there are notes, there are little details that are important to the story. And another way, even if all of my clues, all of my cards had been originally in the right spot, the thing that would have given it away immediately, or behind one of these doors, yeah, like, I'm still going to solve the puzzle. We're going to go over everything. I'm going to solve it the way I think it needs to be solved. I am just really frustrated. I'm disappointed because I feel like it took some of the joy of, like, the solve away from me. So, let's go over day 23. You've reached the end of the night. Review all the clue cards and reread the story as needed. Then decide who killed Body Black, where, with what weapon. Tomorrow you will open the door of the room where you think Body Black was killed. I'm going to lay out all of our stuff and then we'll read the cards and we'll try and match things up. So let's move the box for now. We've got an ice chisel, a gun, pistol, snow globe, a scarf, a fire iron, and the marble bust. We have an unknown location unknown location, conservatory, conservatory, secret passageway, and the lounge. All right, and then our statement cards. I'm just gonna go over them one at a time, and we'll match them up. Oh, let's get our people out as well. Chef White. After that nightmare of a dinner, I spent the rest of the night making dessert in the kitchen. You wouldn't believe how long a meringue cake takes. I don't know what everyone else was up to, but Plum and Scarlet came in a few times while I was working. I barely finished the cake in the room, and I had just put it in the dining room when the lights went out. I used the lighter I keep in my jacket and followed Mustard's shout to the conservatory. Body was a bad employer, but he didn't deserve to die, especially since he was paying me more than he knew. And I believe White had her scarf. We're going to match them up for now and see. So White says that she was in the kitchen. We'll get there. Miss Scarlet's statement. I spent most of my time searching body study for blackmail against him. Unfortunately, he's a cautious man, and I found nothing but a secret passageway to the kitchen. Oh, should I be reading them in their voices? Sure, why not? I spent most of my time searching body study for blackmail against him. Unfortunately, he's a cautious man, and I found nothing but a secret passageway to the kitchen. I discovered a second passageway between the conservatory and the lounge, and remember leaving both of its trapdoors open. I also ran into Peacock, who was searching for the source of a horrible piano melody. I was in the kitchen again with Plum when the power died. Suspecting another trick from Body, I took the passageway to his study, but Mustard's shout startled me, and I left the study quickly to find out what had happened. She says she was in the study. Didn't she have the marble bust? I'm pretty sure she had the bust. Or, had noticed the bust. She says she was in the study. Solicitor Peacock. When the lights died, I was headed to the dining room to look for Black and convince him that blackmail would be bad for both of us. I tried to feel my way to the library in the dark, but I've never been good with directions and instead met Mustard in the lounge. We both went to the library and then the conservatory, where we found Black's body and the pistol I borrowed from Black's safe. I don't know how it got there, though. I lost it at some point in the night. Scarlet was in the conservatory, right? Maybe she grabbed it when we ran into each other. That doesn't make sense at all. She's admitting that she had the pistol. And she says they found it with his body, but I don't think they did. Ooh. We will come back to that, but I don't think they actually found the gun with the body. Colonel Mustard? Unlike my dinner companions, I recognized Black's advantage. It was his home and his terms of engagement. So I retreated to a quiet room to plan my counterattack, but was interrupted by Peacock and Black himself. I moved to the lounge, where a few others came and went, but I was alone there when the lights went out. I heard strange noises, but took little notice in the dark. Peacock then appeared out of nowhere, and we found the source of the outage via a library circuit breaker, and then discovered Black's body in the conservatory. I exclaimed rather loudly, and I imagine that led the others to me. They had an interaction in the ballroom. He took the fire poker. I remember that. Mayor Green. The powers of my office are considerable, but I still have to answer to my donors. I spent the night making phone calls to some of them, seeking help. They weren't sympathetic to my dilemma. I was in the hall when the power died, trying to call in a favor from some unpleasant yet useful associates. Unlike Plum, Mustard, and White, I had no light in the dark. I stumbled over a table and knocked a snow globe off a shelf. Its glass ball shattered and cut my hand. In pain and with no light, I was quite slow to find everyone in the conservatory. Okay, well, we know he's lying. He wasn't in the hall, and the shattered thing was in the dining room. I still think he was trying to break it with the thing, and that's how he hurt himself, because he pocketed it as well. We know he pocketed it. And then lastly, we have Professor Plum. I found myself thrown together with Miss Scarlet for much of the night, quite by coincidence. We visited the kitchen together twice, and White was just leaving with her cake when we arrived the second time. Scarlet and I waited in the kitchen, hoping that Black would visit and we could confront him, so we were alone in there when the lights went out. She disappeared immediately in the dark, and by the time I was able to get out my keychain flashlight, Mustard had screamed. I deemed it more prudent to find him than look for Scarlet, and quickly found him and Peacock in the conservatory. Which leaves him with the ice chisel. So if we look back at our story, there are a few things that definitely stick out to me as things that don't quite match. So, blah, 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 they have dinner, everyone gets mad, they start celebrating. So if we follow the events of the night, right? So day 6 was when we first figured out that the ice chisel was missing. Plum noticed it, and then it was suddenly gone. So I do think that Plum took it. That Plum, in fact, did have the ice chisel. Then on day 7 was when Peacock takes the pistol and puts it in her muff. Day 8, Mayor Green takes the snow globe. Black went back to the kitchen. Scarlet was admiring the bust. They both end up in the kitchen where they gave the scarf back to White. Okay, let's put them on the board and see what's going on. They all start here and then they split. We know Body ended up in the ballroom playing the piano, but we're gonna follow the events of the night and just kind of see what had happened. Everyone left the dining room at the end of day 6. Day 7, Black went to the library. And while he was there, Peacock came in and she took the pistol. He left the library and he went into the hall where Green was making phone calls and where he picked up the snow globe. Okay, Plum was heading to the study, and I think Plum's got the ice chisel in his pocket, where he finds Scarlet in there as well, looking at the bust. Together, they find the passageway and go over to the kitchen, where they found a scarf that White takes from them. She's in the kitchen. She's like, hey, I have to keep working on this dessert, which makes a lot of sense. I don't think she's lying. She had to make the dessert. She's still making the dessert. Scarlet decides to go back through the passageway and goes back to the study. He leaves, but we don't know where he goes yet. Colonel Mustard, at this point, he's chilling in the billiard room. He's stoking the fire because he's mad. He's trying to get stuff thrown into the fire. Peacock comes in and is like talking to him about it. He leaves the billiard room. I'm just kind of moving them around so I know. Leaving her in the billiard room, and he leaves with the fire iron in his hand. Plum goes into the dining room. We're back to Plum. He's in the dining room where Black is. He's now moved and is in there. And Plum leaves Body in the dining room because he's like, I'm gonna go find Green. Black leaves the dining room and heads back to the study, or goes to his study. Finds Scarlet in there, nosing around, trying to find blackmail. She knocks the bust over. That doesn't mean she picks it up. She just knocks it over and puts it back up. She's just staying in the study. But he leaves and goes into the ballroom. After that, we don't hear him leave ever again. So I do believe he dies in the ballroom. Okay. Mustard is in there. He's all mad. He's like, blah, 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 blah. Why don't you try and go find Green? Pushes him out. And he sits down to start playing. Which means, I mean, our music has to be in there. She's still in the billiard room. She's like, whoa. And she's like, ooh, I gotta go find where that's coming from. Passes Scarlet. I don't think she kept she can't carry it around with her. So I think she leaves, it's still in there. They talk, blah, 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 blah. Scarlet's like, I'm heading over to the conservatory. Peacock straight up is like, I'm gonna keep trying to find this music. Scarlet's in the conservatory, finds the passageway, comes up into the lounge where Mustard is now in the lounge, and so are Green and Plum. So at this point, the four of them together, she's in the kitchen making dessert. Peacock's by herself. They're all talking. So intrigued are the three men by Scarlett's sudden appearance that they fail to notice the sudden end of the tinkling piano music that had been playing for some time. The music ends in the ballroom. It leaves one of two people. They all leave. Okay, they're like, hey, we should go find him. Green's like, hey, he said he was in the kitchen. Maybe I'll go to the kitchen. And Plum's like, maybe I know where that is. I can go with you. Scarlett's like, sure. Green says, I'll be in the hall. I have some negotiations to go conclude. And Mustard stays behind. So he's like, I'm going to go back to the hall and make more phone calls. And he's just so desperate to get money. They're like, okay, we can head to the kitchen together. He sits down in the lounge. Okay, and we know that they make it because according to Chef White, she's like, hey, I was still in here making cakes. They came in a few times. So like they made it back to the kitchen because she's like, I saw them more than once. So they've made it into the kitchen with White because all of this is happening simultaneously. I moved in the lounge. I was alone when the lights went out. And we know, yeah, I retreated to a quiet room to plan my cantrip, was interrupted by Peacock and Black himself. I moved to the lounge. So like he went in here to kind of deal with stuff. She came in and then he goes in here and then Black comes in and he's like, oh, so then he came to the lounge. That tracks. We visited the kitchen together twice and White was just leaving with her cake when we arrived the second time. So they were hanging out in the kitchen. She's like, I was just trying to put it in the dining room. That all tracks. I discovered a passageway to the kitchen, conservatory, and the lounge. I left the doors open. I've run into Peacock, who was trying to find that. Yep. I was in the kitchen with Plum when the power died. She's saying when the power went out, she quickly went to the study. She was like, he's messing with us, and took off to the study. And that, because he said when the power came on, she was gone, but they were together when the power went off, like when it happened. He says he knocked the snow globe off whilst he was there. I don't think he did. I do think he went into the dining room and was trying to break it open with the glass, and he's lying about when that happened, but that's okay. Blah, blah, blah. They find him on the door. They find him on the floor. So, because this is where things get kind of weird. The lights cut out. A piercing gunshot elsewhere in the mansion, then a deep thud and the sharp smash of shattering glass. Suddenly though, hey, Peacock, she's all the way over here. And then suddenly Peacock's here, got turned around. They leave together. They go there. Okay. Yeah, a single bullet's been fired, but not, it seems, into body Black, he observes, and these scuff marks on the floor as if the body was dragged to this spot. I don't think he took the ice chisel, now that I'm thinking about it. We have no proof that he actually did. It was just suddenly gone. But there is ice on the suit and drag marks that the body was dragged into. All right, my battery died, and I went to the bathroom. I have no idea what I'm saying because I have ADHD and I have no idea what's going on. So, scuff marks because the body was dragged into the conservatory. There was a bang, a thud, and a crash. She shot the gun. But why? I don't think she used the gun to kill him though, because as I was saying, single bullet's been fired, but not, it seems, into body Black. Scuff marks on the floor, as if the body was dragged to this spot. There is a bullet hole into the thing. So then they're all like, oh wait, secret door. Someone smashed the scanner and closed the door. They open the door. Its impact with her makes a thud. Hey, look. That's the handle of the ice chisel. And it's miraculously in her muff. Okay, but does it say that that's why it's getting me. I was like, does it say that they found the gun in the conservatory? Because I don't think they did. Oh, okay. They find the gun on the floor. Sorry, I missed that. Okay, so the gun was left in the floor. She shot it, scurried through the passageway, drops her muff that conveniently has the ice chisel inside of it. Oh wait, whoops. As they pass the hall, Green darts in and with apparent embarrassment kicks the glass fragments and dented iron base of a large snow globe into a corner, but he cannot conceal the wet puddle of its spilled water. So they did go through the hall. He did actually. That is true. He didn't. Okay, I misread. I misremembered. So he did break it in there. That makes a lot of sense. So he's telling the truth. He was in the hall, broke it, hurt himself. The ice flakes match. Yeah, so, okay, this is what I think happened. They all split up, right? She's wandering around. She goes in, stabs him with the ice chisel, hides it in her muff. Quickly, drags the body into the conservatory. Shoots the gun, I think to make it seem like something happened. Cuts the power, shoots the gun, makes it sound scary, right? Dives into the passageway, across, slides up, but like smashes the glass. So like, oh, what happened? Hides, she's hidden this into her muff. Drops it in the lounge in the dark. And then they're like, oh no, let's go find out what happened. Peacock. Yeah, I borrowed it, but like, I don't know how it got there. I lost it. Yeah, no, I think Peacock in the ballroom with the ice chisel. And with that, this means 24. That's my guess. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.